Hello, welcome to the podcast. I think I'm live now. I think so. I think I'm live. I think I'm live. How are you doing? It has been a minute. I know it's not a lot of people out here. I'm really taking a big chance coming on after Princella, which is like the big thing to do right now. Let's give it a minute. Give it a minute. As you can see, there is a new setup. It's very new. Okay. So, hi, everybody. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Everything's working. Everything is working. Oh, no, I got to get it for a second because I just made a mistake. I will be right back. Okay. I am sorry for that. Talk about a struggle stream. Girl, that is a struggle stream. Woohoo. It is me doing this stream. Okay. I guess I got everything working. I would tell somebody to put a one in the chat if you can hear me. It's been a while since I've been live. It's been so long. I didn't realize it had been that long since I've been live, but it has been a long time since we been live together. I have. It's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know why my camera is so foggy and because it's looking really, really clear on the screen, but not so clear. Weird. Okay, so today we are going to discuss decentering men, oh, decentering men in marriages. Now, I had a video all set up to come on. This is one of the reasons why I'm late. And let me start out by saying that I'm so sorry I'm late. I was supposed to be here by 11 o'clock, but no excuses really. But I was talking to my husband and my son, and I had to run some errands for my mother, and so I, things time just slips away from you. And I had my video all ready to show you, so that we can kick off the conversation of decentering men in our marriages. Now, the question came up to me some time ago when this whole subject of decentering men had started to come up, and I was wondering uh, a long time before, how does one go around decentering men when you're in a marriage? Well, turns out I was actually doing that without actually being aware of what I was doing. We've been taught and we've been brought up to believe that marriage is us together all the time, every day, all day, marriage stuff together, everything we have to do together all day long. Yes, we're going to wear each other out. We have no choice but to wear each other out because we are giving so much of ourselves to the situation that we end up wearing each other thin. We end up wearing each other out. We have no choice but to wear each other out. So, I can't believe I'm live. Anyways, so the onus then comes for us to find our happiness within the marriage because it's not about leaving anybody or cheating. It's just about finding who you are as a person and not being lost in the sauce. So in 2018, um, my our marriage was going through a difficult time, and I broke my ankle, and it was just a hard time. It was work, it was everything, and I thought to myself that the one of the things we were going to have to do was we were going to have to either, well, for me anyway, something was going to have to break. Either I was going to have to lose my mind, or my body would break down, or my spirit would break down. My mind, my body, my spirit. Because all three of them were at war and I was exhausted emotionally and I wanted to be better. So after that, it turns out that my ankle got broken. And my ankle being broken, it enabled me to take some time to think, like to totally decenter everything, to not be in control of anything, to not do anything, to just be myself. Like, you know, I'm not in charge. I'm not doing anything. There's nothing that I can do. There's nothing that I should do. Just to take the time to think about me. And, as I was recovering, I realized that I had been giving everything out and not getting or getting very little in return. And that I was just emotionally exhausted. As I recovered, I realized that the best thing I could do was spend time by myself. And I stopped thinking so much about the marriage and not setting boundaries because I realized I had set no boundaries in this marriage. I set no boundaries. There was nothing that was you know, uh, not off the table. I was giving all the time. I was not expecting anything in return, no reciprocation. I wasn't making enough demands. And it took me going through that to understand that I was the fault in the marriage. Why is that looking so horrible? Oh my. It took me a while to realize that I was the problem. I was not giving myself uh everything looks clear. The room I needed to be myself. I just wasn't myself. I didn't know how to be myself. I didn't even remember who I was anymore. And so as I was recovering, because I had my ankle was broken really bad, like it was at cross purposes. And I needed surgery and pins and stuff. And it was a while. I was 4 months out. And then I realized that I really needed to take time for myself, find out who I was in the marriage. And that time that I was lying there and I couldn't move, I didn't even know. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea, you know, if somebody would have asked me, what do you believe? I have no idea what I believed, if I believed anything at all. So this time, decentering the marriage and thinking of myself was very beneficial to me and beneficial to the marriage because I started to divest myself. I know buzzwords, right? I started to divest myself from uh, the expectations of the marriage. I started to free myself of, you know, needing his approval, needing his permission, consulting him about everything. And I don't mean that I'm being a nasty person or mean or that I don't care about his feelings or what he thinks, but I cared more about myself and my mental state and my mental health. And it did wonders in saving the marriage. When I look back, I think about how people in long-term marriages usually get they get that way because they have different things that they can bring to the table. I hate those terms because they're so misused. Bringing something to the table just means that you two go out and you bring uh, conversation to the table, you bring experiences to the table, you bring uh, you know, your culture to the table. You bring so much more than just money. You bring so much more. And so one of the things that I learned from myself is that I was an empty vessel and I wasn't bringing anything to the table because I was giving everything out and there was nothing in reserve to give to the marriage. And it's important that men decenter men in marriage and put yourself first. You know, I felt a little pressured about the in-laws. The in-laws didn't like me. I felt that I had to perform for them. I felt I had to be this certain kind of stepmom. I felt I had to do things that I normally, I just didn't have the energy to do. Maybe it was too much for me. Maybe it just wasn't for me, but I felt I needed to do it. I felt that that was my responsibility to do, and I felt the pressure of it. So I hope this is making sense. I'm just talking to the camera, but it is very important that we decenter men in marriage as well, because our mental health in the marriage is very important. It's very important. So I'm trying to find this video. It is late. Um, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to play it verbally because it didn't come up the other way. So give somebody some time to come in so we can have a discussion. Okay, where did it go? Yeah,
Husband, getting back to your intuition and tapping into your inner wisdom and saying to yourself, allowing yourself to ask, what do I want and how do I feel? It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't mean that you are never ever considerate of his needs and you're just an inconsiderate, mean partner. But decentering, and the way I've done it, is again by tapping into intuition and really allowing myself to say, okay, Nicole, what is the right boundary for you in this instance? It doesn't even have to do anything with my husband. What is the right boundary for you? How do you feel in your nervous system and saying, okay, does this feel right or does it not feel right to you? Instead of defaulting to him, right? Or it also means to not be constantly checking up on him and again defaulting to him and making him the center of everything that you do. And a lot of women abandon themselves. We lose our sense of self and our sense of identity when we get into a serious relationship, and in this case, get married. And we can put our husband at the center of our universe. And we have been taught to do this. We've been taught to cater to men from a very young age. So we just repeat those patterns in our marriage, right? And if this sounds familiar to you, if you have centered your husband for a long time and you're like, yeah, I need to get back to myself. You can like and follow for more. I'll be doing a maybe several part series, maybe 4 or 5 videos, maybe more about this topic. And what I did, what works for me. And also, um, just want to put it out there that if you're in a bad situation, um, the decentering is still a good idea to get back to yourself, but
yeah.
also maybe make arrangements to, but if that's your situation. But I'm more or less talking about decentering. Yeah, divorce can happen, right? That is always an option. This isn't about staying together or not staying together. kind of do with your marriage, but I am going to talk about decentering. And again, what I did, and just my general concept is really about tapping back into your intuition. And a lot of women have their intuition stripped of them from a very young age because we're told to be accommodating, be nice, and just go along with everything. Just be quiet. Let the men talk. Don't express your opinion. If you're in a family situation, learn these things growing up. So, decenter, tap back in. You ask yourself, what do I want? How do I feel? It's not selfish. You're not being partner for
Nope.
welcome to part.
Okay. So that's actually what I wanted to play, and that's what we wanted to talk about today. Whether or not we are mean partners for, let's try this. This better. Decentering men. I feel a little overexposed, but then I don't want it to be too dark. Anyways, try this for a little while. Just in my eye. Okay, so here we are talking about decentering men in our marriages. And what does that look like? To me, that looks like separate bank accounts. It looks like um, buying things without permission, like I said before. It looks like having your own time to yourself, having your own space if it's applicable. It looks like taking care of what you want to do and how you want to be. It looks like a lot of things. Looks like a lot of things, how we have to decenter men in our lives. Um, I said I wasn't going to be on here long. I just hadn't touched base in a while. I don't even know if this is going to be going to be up. I just probably might private it. But while I'm at it, let's talk about mm, some other things that are going on in the world. You know, the Sean P. Diddy Combs. Like I said, I just wanted to really come up and discuss decentering men in marriage. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be. I mean, I like it, but let's see who comes up. Anybody going to come up? Hmm. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Can anybody hear me? I know. Uh, type one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay. So, starting out by talking about, well, if you're new here, this is the Black Eye Podcast. How are you? How are you doing? I'm not going to stay here for very long, but I did want to have a discussion about the possibilities of decentering men in our marriages. I know that is a difficult thing for us to do because I had this question when the whole dissenter men, hello, victorious one. Um, when the whole dissenter men came into play, I was a little bit shocked about the possibility of doing that in a marriage. I didn't know if that was possible. And so I was surprised to find out that people do that. I was thinking back into my childhood, and the people whose marriages actually lasted were people who had space. They had boundaries. They had what we would call separate lives. And I didn't know about that because I didn't grow up in that atmosphere. I grew up in the church and everything was marriage, 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 stay together. You got to do this in the marriage. You know how they teach you dogma, a whole bunch of hogwash about what marriage actually is, and how when you're in a long-term relationship, how tired you are, and how you really want to get away from each other for a little while. You need a vacation. And so I came in with all these ideas about what I thought marriage was. And it took me, oh Lord, how many years? I'm sitting here like a fool crying and, oh, I want this type of marriage and I don't understand why it can't be this way. And I feel so silly now because now once I realize that, you got to go find your own happiness. You got to go not ask his permission, not consult him, not, be under him, wanting him to be your rock and your stone. You have to go and take care of yourself. But I didn't understand that at the time. I thought that if I did everything right, if I cleaned the house, if I cooked, if I, you know, made things, I didn't put any boundaries on my marriage. I didn't put any boundaries in the relationship. I just let things go. So by the time I hit a certain age, I was exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And I said earlier, there was three things that had to break. One of the three things had to break: my mind, my spirit, or my body. One of those things had to break. That's how exhausted I was. Thank God it turned out to be just my ankle. It was a bad break. And, I had to go to the hospital and get surgery and all of that. But what that did for me is it gave me the opportunity to sit back and to think about myself, not get in control, not worry about the house, not worry about anything, just myself. And I realized very quickly that I was responsible for my own happiness. I had spent all of my time putting the marriage ahead of my health, my mental health, my spiritual health, and my physical health. So much so that I was lying up in the bed, broken ankle, broken spirit, tired, frustrated, and for what? People tell you, and we've been sold for years that, we what do we see when we look at these pictures? We go couple goals, right? And those people aren't living that life. They just aren't. We know this. But it took me a long time to realize that couple goals, I wasn't living that. Nobody was living that life. Sitting here, centering the marriage, giving everything that I could give, and nothing was happening. Nothing was going. That's so, that was so, that was a wake up call for me. So I got up. I started thinking of things that I like to do, thinking of foods I wanted to eat, just thinking about myself. And it's not about being selfish. We didn't break up. It wasn't a serious thing. It was just me taking control of my life, taking control of things, and making things happen better for myself. It turned out to improve the message. And I didn't spend all my time crying about what he wanted or what he needed or what he did. I spent the time thinking about me. And that brought a lot of things to the table It also helped the relationship because I had to see if the relationship was going to survive, whether I was pumping it up or working on it or doing these things, or whether I wasn't. That's, you know, that's what it was. We have to decenter them in our lives. So I did all of this to come up here and say that, we need to really, yeah, 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 Victorious. It was a revolution. Yeah, that I did all that because, geez, it took practically a breakdown for that to even happen. Stop centering men. That's really a powerful thing. I don't know if people really understand what that means and how that empowers you as a woman. When even in your marriage, you are responsible for yourself. You do things in your life that doesn't that isn't wrapped around this relationship. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, I'm not being mean or dismissive or cruel or not even so. It's not selfish to do that. It's a good thing to do that because in the end, we had a better relationship. I like the fact that instead of me sitting here crying about, oh, we don't have a marriage together and I want this relationship and I want that relationship, he would come to me and say, you know what? I don't see you like I used to. When are we going to spend time together? And I say, I have things to do. I'm going to do those things. I like that. I like that. That's empowering for me. Instead of me sitting here cooking the meals and cleaning the house and worrying about him, checking in on what he wants. I cook sometimes, and sometimes I don't cook. I got things to do. What I'm doing isn't big, fantastic, wonderful. It's still my thing. It's still something that I have to do. And so I was really wanting to come here and share that with somebody out here in the internet and tell you that yeah, it is possible to be in a relationship and not center it because we have been taught as women that we're supposed to do that. This is how you're supposed to be in a marriage. This is how you're supposed to submit to your husband, and there are many ways to submit. You're supposed to take care of your home. God, do they preach that in the church? Lovers of your home instead of lovers of the world. And they nobody ever thinks about what that means for the rest of your life. You know, Nobody thinks about what that means for your whole 20 years in a marriage. Nobody thinks about that. They sell you these goods like you're gonna be a mom for 20 years, or you're going to be your whole life, you're gonna be obsessing about vacuuming the rug. That's not it at all. And we shrink ourselves, and we know this, we hear people talk about this, but we shrink ourselves and we retract ourselves so tightly, and we wind ourselves up in what we think we are until we really don't know who we are. I really didn't know who I was until I disentangled myself and decentered the marriage. And I know my husband's like, you just keep moving further and further away. It's like, yeah, I need my space. I need my boundaries because I didn't have any. I would just let things happen. He would bring over and I would be upset, but I didn't put my foot down and say, "Hey, look, I can't do this now." Or, "No, this is not possible for me." Or, anything he would decide to do, I never even said no to. Or I would object and he would, because I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't have any standards. And so, whew, it took a lot of soul searching, and eye opening. And yeah, even to a point where I was I had to take responsibility to the point where I broke down on the floor and just wept. Like I cried. Like how your eyes are open, you've been walking around kind of blind and kind of half formed for a bit, and then you see the whole world and all of a sudden you just break down and cry because you have been I don't know what kind of life I was living. I couldn't really tell anybody what kind of life I was living, but whatever kind of life I was living, um, it was it wasn't the one that I can't even tell you. I can't even articulate it enough to tell you just how programmed I was and how deprogramming, deconstructing myself in the relationship and finding out that you know I put all this work in this relationship, finding out later that if I stop working, if I stop putting this much effort into this relationship, will the relationship stand? That was a question that I had to ask myself. And I had to ask nobody else, just myself, God, whoever God is, the universe, whomever that is. I had to do that. So it's something to tell people. I mean, like I said, that's a powerful statement to tell women in a relationship how you have to decenter it, how you have to disengage from it, how you don't make it the center of your life and still have a partner and still have someone in your relationship. But this time you bring something to it. You bring your experience, you bring your life, you bring your happiness, you bring you to it and you as a whole person, not as a half formed human being just slaving around in the house and believing that your whole existence is to be the backbone of the home, holding it up and muling it out. Anyways, that was all I really wanted to get off my chest and talk about decentering the marriage and how that is possible. And I want to hear other people say about how they would do it and maybe offer solutions on how it can be done because not everyone can go to a separate place like I did. I just went to a whole nother place and I said, look, you have that space and I go over here and we can get together and we can have, movie night or this night or that. But you know what? I'm not going to do all of that. I don't feel like being with the friends tonight. I'm going to go spend some time over here. I'm going to take time for myself, for my state of mind, for my peace of mind. That's not always easy because there's so much pressure to be in a relationship, be here. Why aren't you in this marriage? You hear people talk about, oh, well, aren't you supposed to be over there where your husband is? And my answer to them is, I am where I'm supposed to be. That's what my answer is. And that's not easy. People kind of talk about you and they kind of give you the eyeballs because they think that you're supposed to follow your man around wherever he goes. That's where you're supposed to be. And that's not necessarily the truth. The truth is that you are where you're supposed to be. You are in charge. And this is one of the reasons that I became one of these rabid feminists that were coming out into the world and just, you know, fighting for actual women's rights. Women, women. Because we get um, pressure, such pressure to be, especially black women. I mean, don't you think we get black women get the pressure to be the one in the world to do all the work? That is the thing. So I say all of this to say, oh wow, I did read that wrong. See, I can't see. I'm blind as a bat. Victorious one. It said revaluation. Yeah, I said revolution. You say reevaluation. Yeah, yep. Revolution, reevaluation. Both, both things. So I poured that out. It's so weird. I haven't been live in a long, long time. It's so weird, so funny. Anywho, if anybody wants to come up and talk and offer some solutions or type something in the chat, I would appreciate it. And please like it. I do appreciate that too. Um, let's see here. This is so weird. Okay. Anywho, speaking of the center, I had something else I wanted to get off my chest and share with the chat as well. You know, people really do underestimate the power of force in a relationship and with women. They really do. Um, we underestimate that programming because that's the same thing that happened with Cassie, right? Uh, I'm sorry, I'm just wondering if I'm still on. I feel kind of. If you can hear me in the chat, one. Okay. Anyhow, moving on to the next subject, as it should have been decentering men and marriage and other subjects. So I'm going to move on and after that reevaluation. After talking about that, I really wanted to share that with someone. Also, I wanted to talk about the Cassie in situation. Again, talking about how programming is a big part of our lives. Forgive me if I'm a little tired, but whew, I don't really want to beat a dead horse when it comes to Cassie. I just don't. But I am going to say this. I am going to say this that oh, I didn't see that. All right. The thing with Cassie was I dropping them? The thing with Cassie is, very sad because I hear both men and women coming in on her in a very difficult way. Like they really are looking for reasons for her to be looking for reasons for her to be excuse me, looking for justification for her to be uh, abused. I don't understand why women and men are looking for those reasons to be abused. I don't. I really don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. They really want her to be at fault and to be deserving of abuse. I don't know why that is. But I was saying this before in a video that nobody looks for abuse in a relationship. Nobody comes in expecting that they're going to be abused. You know, that's not something that happens. It's not something that happens. So people come in and they want that poor girl to be, um, they really want her to be abused. Like, I don't understand why they want her to be, to deserve what Diddy did to her. It doesn't make sense to me. And when they say things like, "Well, she could have walked away. She could have left." How? We just saw that poor girl try to escape in her bare feet, go to the elevator, only to get punched and kicked and dragged back. Excuse me. I think we underestimate the power of fear. We underestimate the power of abuse. Oh, excuse me. Jesus. I beg your pardon. We underestimate the power of abuse. We underestimate how force force is powerful. um, not to bore anybody, but I don't know if anybody's here. I can't really see. But one of the things I was talking about earlier in another video was that, what was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about a TV show I once watched called Columbo, just to age myself a little bit. And in the show, the woman had committed the crime, and she was about to be blackmailed by her assistant. It was one of the humorous ones. And so it's a soft blackmail. And so the blackmailer says, "Well, I hope I'm not forcing myself on you." And the little old lady chuckles and she says to her, "If I'm, yeah, it is a male world in the patriarchy." And she says, "If people don't bow to force, I really don't know what it is that they bow to." And when somebody hits you and strikes you, you really, I mean, that's the fear. That's the force, right? You're afraid to leave. What Cassie described in her lawsuit, where who's what was that? Kid Cudi's car was blown up, and he, he's being accused of shooting people. Why would you feel that she had the ability to get up and walk away from other people? Why would you think she had the ability to get up and walk away from Diddy? I mean, fear is, it's a thing. It can make you do whatever it wants to do. That was the brag of him. Right? Diddy can make you do whatever he wanted you to do. And making Cassie afraid kept her tied to him for years. I mean, people really underestimate how this thing works. He didn't abuse her every day, but he abused her enough to keep her oppressed. He didn't treat her like that every day. It didn't even start out that way. I bet you it started out very lovely because a 19-year-old, and this is one of the reasons why they love 19-year-olds, so they can mold them and make them up into whatever they want. And so I remember dating when I was 22, the man was 44. And one thing he used to say to me all the time, he goes, "Oh, you're so malleable. You're so malleable." And that's what these old dudes like. They like these young women that they believe they shape into the type of woman that they want at any time. And that was the same with Cassie. When you're 19 and 20 and in your 20s, you don't really pay attention, or you don't know. You really are a people pleaser. You want to please the person that you're with. You think because the older man is interested in you, that's a good thing. And you don't know what caliber of man he is. You just think, "Oh, he's a good caliber of man. He's interested in me," and that makes you feel good. Really don't know. You really don't know what kind of man he is. You have no idea how to gauge any of these things, and they love that. They love um 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, men like him know exactly what they want, and they go after. Yeah, he knew very well what he was doing. And I heard some content creators, yeah, he was 19, he was 37. He knew he went after her. And I heard some content creators say some nonsense like, "Oh, well, she led with her private parts, so she got what she deserved." She knew what he was. How? Y you know, how? She was 19 years old. He's 37. And I like how sometimes these males come up here and they talk as if they're Little Red Riding Hood. The men are the Little Red Riding Hood, and the women are the big bad wolf coming to take them and abuse them. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how this ever worked at all. Cassie was 19. I'm pretty sure she was enamored by him because he made himself appealing to her and he was after her. He was chasing after her. And I think people just don't, they underestimate just how forceful a person like him can be, how savage he can be, how insidious he can be, how he can love bomb her and sweep her off her feet and impress her and then turn around and you know hit her and you're confused because what is it? Cassie was yeah, yeah. She was stuck in a 10 album deal. He made sure that he tied her to him for life. How insidiously, to me, I consider that kind of behavior evil. I just call that evil because he made certain that she couldn't leave no matter what. He knew what he was doing, you know? She's excited about having a contract, being able to sing, being able to model or do whatever it is she was doing. She's 19. I got a 10 album deal. I don't know where her people were because, well, I mean, they got their money, I guess. I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, they act as though they're black women are the big bad wolf and that, Cassie was after his money. And, he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly how he was playing that. He knew, I believe to a certain degree, he knew how he was going to treat her. He knew this and he planned it. Now, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't really matter. But he definitely planned on how he was going to treat her, and for that's why the apology didn't hold up any kind of sauce. Because how you going to sit here and apologize and say you were fucked up? Really? How fucked up were you? When were you fucked up? When you kicked her in the head? When you came out in the towel? Paid $50,000 to keep that video out? And then he says, "Oh, I'm striving to be a better man." Before or after you lied? When did you strive to be a better man? "Oh, I'm taking responsibility." Of course you're taking responsibility. You in 4K. What else were you going to do? What else were you going to do? He really was. But see, I he was a brat. And somebody else said that too. I think that bodyguard, what's his name? That man was a brat. You heard he put his hands on his mom, right? He was a brat. And I think he was a brat before the money and the power because there are little stories, little rumors about him before he got into bad boy and all that stuff. He was not. I don't know what his mom did to him. I don't know if she, you know, tried to make up for the father. The father passed away, and sometimes we women we overdo it. We give too much. We don't compensate for the lack of father. I don't know, but he was disgusting long before he got the money. The money just enabled him to be more. Yeah, Gene Deal, that's his name. Gene Deal was the bodyguard. That's exactly who that was. Yeah, he was talking about that. because Kirk, somebody went to prison for the dude. Like, we underestimate just how power, money, force, oppression, all those things work together to hurt not just the person, but a community. This poor young woman who, she'll never be the same again. King Deal, that was his name. The bodyguard, yeah, he's testifying everywhere. He ain't, there is nowhere that he isn't on this platform. I don't think he was on TikTok, but I know he was everywhere on YouTube, everywhere, every leaking place. But yeah, the power of being drunk on power, whatever that was, and he knew he could get away with it. Money bought him everything, everything. Bought him the ability to abuse. I would like to see more of the people who are around him. I would like to see them be held um, accountable too. I hate that word accountable because it's so overused. But I mean, I would really want them to be accountable. You know this is a criminal act. Some of the things he did was criminal, and you all covered it up. I mean, I get he writes your checks, but when does profit and morals? When do we start to be more? You know, how can we sit here and watch him hurt Cassie, hurt this young girl, and still not, you know, well, we don't care as long as we getting our paycheck? After I just said that you can't underestimate the power of force, which I find funny because now I'm just double talking. But yeah, I mean, oof, that's a lot that poor woman went through. I mean, I had somebody like hit me once, and I remember I was devastated because you spend all of your time gaslighting yourself. First, they gaslight you because they tell you, "Oh, you made me do this," and then you think, "Oh, yeah, maybe I did do this. Maybe I did say this. Maybe my tone was wrong." You spend so much time doubting yourself and what you might have done to deserve this. And if everyone is in agreement, they saw what happened and let him do that to you, then you have to think about, well, maybe to a certain degree, I did deserve this. I mean, it plays a trick on your mind. And that, what she must have gone through for 10 years to think that she maybe had to talk a certain way or behave a certain way. And maybe even if she did behave that way, it still didn't make a difference. She still was going to be abused, hit, slapped, kicked. I mean, we really, it's a lot. I'm exhausted. I was exhausted when I saw Kiki Palmer with her boyfriend. And I did a video on her. And it does. Religious doctrine does set us up to be oppressed. That's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning. Religious doctrine is the primer for oppression because we are programmed to put up with abuse, uh, stick in a relationship no matter what, endure, 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 give sacrifice. Even though Jesus already died on the cross, we're supposed to die on the cross too. I mean, the mind fuck that is religion these days is it is beyond comprehension, and it's thorough. And the thing is, I was reading about Mesopotamia, how because a lot of our traditions in marriage started 6,000 years ago before and how even before Christ, before there was Christianity, before there was even civilization, so to speak, because Mesopotamia is one of the first civilizations, that they were already oppressing women at that time. Because remember, women are the resource, you know? They were treating women as the resource. So all these wedding traditions, making the promise, the father giving away the daughter, No, you can't divorce unless there's reason, abuse or adultery. All of that is ingrained in us, and religion just helps to propagate it even more, even more. Self-sacrifice versus yeah, because they preach against self-love. They preach against that all day. They'll preach against self-love all day long. No, you love yourself is of the devil. That's the flesh. And somebody was talking about that earlier today. I forgot who. 'Cause my mother listens to all that. And all the, everybody's about themselves and not about the Lord. And they're not talking about God at all. They're talking about the church and the ministry and giving that money. They ain't talking about God, not at all. But if you're thinking about yourself, then you're in the wrong. It's a it's a mind fuck. It really is. Because even people who aren't religious, it's ingrained in your person. You're religious, what is it? Adjacent, right? You're religious adjacent. You have, somebody who went to church. They teach you what these family values in school, and it's a lot. They always choose themselves. They always choose themselves. Somebody was making a discussion argument earlier today about women um, choosing. What was it? Women were, well, it was two. One ridiculous argument about women choosing, having a fantasy of wanting to be abused, which I thought was ridiculous and absurd. He goes into a relationship wanting to be abused. And the second one was about how women were more selfish than men. It must have been that silly Pearl who came up with that nonsense. Anyways, they were talking about how women, um, they were trying to make the argument that women cheat more than men. And it turns out in the study that even though women do cheat, men still are more likely to cheat in a marriage than men. And how somehow they, men want to fulfill their fantasies, men want to fulfill their desires, but women cannot, under any circumstances, have desires, have wants, have needs, have anything. She's just supposed to take it and not, and not complain, because he's gonna come home to you, or maybe he won't. My page is full of, what do you call these? They call them trad wives now, who were left by men who just got up and walked away. You know, she's taking care of the home. She took care of the children. He went off with some 22-year-old, left her destitute. She's out in the street in her car, and he's fulfilled his desires. He decided that he wanted to live a better life somewhere else with a 22-year-old, and left her with the four kids living out of a car. And so I guess the argument was supposed to be that, that women are the selfish ones. Women will do anything to harm the men, because like I said, they think they're Little Red Riding Hood. They don't think that they're the wolf, you know. So, oh my god, and they were like, "Oh, well, women leave the marriages all the time. That's why there should be a no-fault divorce." And it's like, "No, it should be a no-fault divorce, because you decide that you don't wanna be in this relationship anymore, and you get up and walk away. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to sit here and be unhappy and tied to you for the rest of my life? I can't believe, what is that study that's going on now? 2025, something like that? Where they're trying to take away women's rights, take away their reproductive rights. And I'm gonna do a video on that, because Roe v. Wade was not actually about women's rights. And a lot of pro-choice people wanted to strike it down as well, because it didn't go far enough in ensuring that our rights were preserved. And I will do a video on that coming soon. But, you know, yeah, men Project 2025. Yeah, that's terrified. Now, I don't know if I believe that Project 2025 is going to come into play because some of the things they're talking about are already law. And I don't know if they can strike down all of these, like no fault divorce and these things. I don't know if it's terrifying if it does happen, but I don't believe that it can happen in its entirety. I It's terrifying though. It is terrifying. Project 2025. It's got everybody thinking. I just don't know how you're going to come in and sweep the nation uh, and say to everybody at this point, well, now you can't get divorced. There's no fault divorce. I don't know how that's going to work. Again, they would have to get in and they would have to have governors. They would have to have all those ducks in a row. And I just don't know if that is entirely possible. Because even the Supreme Court, there are enough people there to dissent and to fight this. So I don't know. I don't know. It's terrifying. If that does go through and all the ducks go in a row, that's something to fight for. I'm still going to be on the front lines because I believe in women's reproductive rights. I, what's going on in Texas is downright draconian, and the Republicans really, and I'm an independent. I'm not for either one of them because neither one of them are good for us. But I would like for, uh, I mean, it's shocking how the Republicans or the conservatives are pro life, right? But they don't want to feed the kids and make sure that the kids have a good home. But they'll tell you, oh, you know, life begins at birth or and but they won't make sure that you have a home and that the children you won't invest in the children. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. But you want to do away with welfare and you want to do away with social security, but you don't want to take care of the children that you say are important. Then what happens to the kids? And nobody answers that. And nobody answers that question because they don't make sense. Neither one of them makes sense. And I'm disgusted with the Democrats because they seem to just sit here and just allow things to happen for their own political gain. And I don't, shouldn't we be out here fighting for the rights of the people instead of just sitting back allowing things to happen. At least that's how I see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it all wrong. But yeah, Project 2025, that I don't know if that's going to be uh they would have to have a lot of ducks in a row. It would have to be what's that show, The Handmaid's Tale, where they kind of, and I don't know if that's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know if that's entirely possible. 'Cause that's a sweeping what is that? Manifesto? That's big. That is very big what they're proposing. And I don't think anybody's going to go along with that very easily. I just don't think that's going to happen. You know, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think so. They're making a manifesto, but I don't think so. I don't know what you think it's going to go through? I'm just sitting here talking. Just let me talk, let me say stuff, and I'm just sitting here talking. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to go through. If you think it's going to go through, put a one in the chat, put a two in the chat. I don't think so. I really don't. I don't know. They are cruel and want to punish women. They are. They really, 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 really are. You know what's really insidious though is that it's all under the cover of religion. Because who's going to fight family values? Of course, we believe in family, right? But who's going to fight them? And so, if you're working hard and you're busy and you're not really paying attention to social media or the news, and you're not paying attention to all this stuff, and you hear these little bites, family values, the culture is this, and the sound bites, you could actually get people to vote along with you just on that proviso alone, just off half stuff, not even on the full, because people don't even know what's in bills. We don't even know what we're voting for when we say yes to bills because they make it sound so good. And who would really say no to family values? Because they sell us on this fake innocence. Oh, back in the day, life was great. I hope not too. Back in the day, life was wonderful. uh, Men were this and women were that, and there were family values. And that wasn't true at all. In fact, the 1930s, and this is going way back, during the Depression, men were abandoning the marriages and leaving the women high and dry. And the women couldn't get a divorce because, of course, no fault divorce did not exist. So the women were stuck being married on paper and they couldn't divorce until when the dude was dead or something, or abandonment. They had to wait till they were abandoned for I don't know how many years, 5, 10 years, to finally get a divorce. That so yeah, on paper, if you look at the stats, yes, there were a lot of married women, but over what was it? What was that study? I wish I could find it. Over 50% of the marriages, the men had already left. So the women had to go out and work and take care of the family. And that's why we had to fight, especially black women being home. But, a lot of men left those marriages because they couldn't stand not being able to work, or the wife made more money than they did, or they simply couldn't take the financial pressure. Men leave the pressure. They don't tell you that. Oh, it is propaganda. It's a it is. It's a horse and pony show, right? That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. Republican cosplay, family values. What Marjorie Taylor Greene had several blatant affairs and divorced her husband in 2023. It's all propaganda. Oh, it is. It is propaganda. I mean, I don't even like that show, The Handmaid's Tale, but I can't help but notice the parallels, of the women helping out the patriarchy. Um, and putting on this show and all this nonsense and telling us they're about family values when they're not at all about family values. It's about the elites preserving their position. Because what's happening, I was talking to my husband about this earlier, is well, yeah, I was saying one of the biggest things that happened, one of the biggest crashes to the American dream, that hypnotism we were under, that people stopped watching television during the pandemic. And so no more were they selling us these dreams. Nobody was buying into these dreams. People were beginning to wake up and realize, oh, wait a minute. You mean I don't need to drive an hour to have this job? You mean I could have done this at home? I could have spent time with my kids. People want a different kind of life now. And um, yeah, but they're a strong 1%. They're a strong 1%. And they really want to fight to keep the old way. You see all these old men. Oh, holding on for dear life, just holding on to and selling us on family values and all this nonsense that people have already said, put their hands up and gave it the old way and said, yeah, we're done with that. It's time to go into a new life, do things differently. And they still want to hold on to that old system, which is crumbling. I just want to know what's going to replace uh, the system. Hopefully, something better than what we have. Uh, something not like what, something not like this. Where I want the patriarchy to go. I'm just tired of it. There's no point in it anymore. No point in you being here. All of it is a lie. You lied to men. You lied to women. You're trying to lie to the kids. Just go. Just go quietly into that good night. Say goodbye. Exit stage left. Goodbye, patriarchy. Let's put it into that. I'm so tired. I don't want to hear any more men tell women what kind of woman they ought to be. I don't want to hear any more of it. Go decide what kind of man you want to be that person, and go on with your life. I don't want to hear any more of that. Yeah, it's the 1%, and they're holding on because who's going to do the work when once everybody walks away, decides they want a different life? Who's going to do that? Nobody. Nobody's going to do it. What'd you say? Wait a minute. I just want to read it. In my opinion, the U.S. started to decline when Ronald Reagan betrayed the unions. Oh, yeah. The railroad fired all the air traffic controllers. Yep. And our trust in government was never restored. I agree. Yeah. And the thing is, they've been doing that ever since Joe Biden. What was it? Didn't he do something with the railroads? Did he screw over the unions and the railroads? No, I don't want any part of the patriarchy. I'm finished with it. I'm done. I want it to go. Say goodbye. Say goodbye to patriarchy. It's time. I mean, I don't understand why people try to preserve it, because it doesn't benefit anyone. No longer does it benefit women. We don't need it. We never really did need it, because the truth of the matter is, women had been working. We had to, because men were not there taking their responsibilities. They were abandoning the families. And they keep telling us, oh, they stayed with their families and men were men. Okay. They were men until things went bad, and then they whined and went away. I don't want any part of the patriarchy. No parts of the patriarchy. None. Tired. Exhausted. It should be over by now. This is a new century. It's a new century, new way of doing things, new way of being. Yeah, I forgot what Biden did with what did he do with it? Because I was watching Breaking Points, and they were talking about it. Biden and the railroad union. And I was like, how could you portray the union like that? But he did it. He betrayed the unions. I was trying to find it here. I just want to remember what he did, because I remember it was a big talk about it. And I think he broke the union. but it was so quiet. Nobody said anything about it. Joe Biden's report card historian gives Union Joe a higher grade. Oh, okay. I know he did something. I just couldn't remember what. Did he break it? That there was complaint. Oh, he made it illegal for workers to strike. That's what he did. That's what he did. He made it illegal for workers to strike. They're all betraying. Yeah, they're all betraying. Uh, they're all betraying us. It's a shame. Yeah, no, they can't strike. So they can't fight for any. 'Cause I remember breaking points and somebody at the Hill. We're all talking about it. And everyone felt betrayed because he was supposed to be on the side of the unions, but they tried to clean it up like it was something good, with that he did a good thing, but it wasn't a good thing. So yeah, yeah, railroad workers can't strike. Their unions can never strike. He made it illegal, but I don't. What's that sound? Yeah, he's a snake. Yeah, he did a sin. He did us wrong. I was trying to find it. All lies. All of the politicians lie. What do you think of that Trump situation? Because frankly, I think they're giving him the presidency. If they had just ignored him, he would have gone away. But they didn't. I just want to remember what he did. What is that over here? I just wanted to remember. All lies. Absolutely. I'm just trying to find that article because I remember he did something and we were all talking about it, but he wasn't for the people.
Many of them union members themselves would have been
he that's exactly what he did. But he also he made it. What does this headline say? That's exactly what he did. He made it illegal for them to strike, which again, I really don't know if government should be playing a role in that. But government's been interfering in things for many, many years. I just didn't I know what's going on with that. Anyways, yeah. You know why it's not coming in? Supposed to just come on in, but it ain't. It's giving me trouble. Anyways, that's exactly what he did. He limited their mm, okay. Yeah, none of them are for us. They're really for the corporations. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with that article. But yeah, they're really about the corporations. They really are. All of them are working to preserve that 1% and get all that corporate money for their benefit and keep us working because all of this is about driving women back to driving women back into the kitchen, so to speak, driving them back home, driving them back to, even though I'm just switching the subject right now, I'm totally switching the subject. There, there it is. Yeah, I knew they were pissed off about it. Legislature, yeah, I remember the sound. I don't know why I'm stuck on that, but it really bothered me because it was something that was for the benefit of the people, and a lot of the liberals were really upset about how he was supposed to be for. The thing is, the thing is, he's not exclusive to that democracy destroying thing. I know that's the tale they're telling us, but he's not exclusive to that. Not at all. Not at all. Slowly, both sides have been playing their part. They didn't plan on Trump finding the formula for the Supreme Court to strike down Roe v. Wade. They never counted on that. But the Democrats aren't, helping the democracy much either. They're not. They're not even really fighting for democracy as they are fighting for a way of life. And again, they are preserving their lives too. Harold, Harold Buck, even the thing with Harold Bucker is that he, even the college, like, denounced his statement, like, they denounced him. They're like, "Yeah, no, we're not vibing with that." The disconnect of a man coming into a college for women to tell women who are already in debt that their job is to have babies struck me as, well, sick, number 1, and funny, number 2. And then he says to his wife, or, about his wife, but he had given that speech, he gave the speech last year at some other college, and nobody paid him any attention. It was because he gave this speech at an all women's college. This guy, again, this is what we were talking about, how he's a Catholic, he's a passionate Catholic. And so these are his views, his values. I just thought it was funny that everyone denounced his statement, even the college. They're like, "Yeah, we don't stand by that," because it was ridiculous. How are you gonna come into a women's college and tell them that they should have babies? That has nothing to do with anything. That has nothing to do with how you feel, you know? These people are in debt, not so they can go home and have babies. Yeah, he was just giving a speech. I don't know why, um, the at women's college, they would choose a man to give a speech. I just don't understand that. Even though it's a Catholic college, and I understand it's a private Catholic college, I don't understand why they would let a man come in and give a speech. That also bothers me. I don't understand why that would, um yeah, I guess he should kick. They asked him there, and I just don't understand why they would ask him there. James, whenever he wants to add his LeBron James. It is insanity. I just don't understand why they wanted. It's a woman's college. Why would you allow a man to come in there and give the commencement speech? Just like in some black colleges. Did you see the speech with Biden? This is a black man's college. What is it, Morehouse? Why in God's name is a white man giving a speech at Morehouse College? This is a college for black men. I'm sorry, but black men should be, given the speech for men, not this old doddering president who's saying vaguely racist racial things, and then the students turn their back on him. I don't get it either. I mean, what does it have to do with you? If your wife wants to have your baby, fine. If that's what the life she chose, I'm all for feminists. I'm a feminist. I believe you should have any kind of life that you want. By all means, have that life. But I don't understand why he gets to come in and tell women, or any of them get to come in and tell women about what kind of life you should lead. That's your belief. Most people aren't going to live that life. Most people can't afford to live that life. Yeah. I mean, all the black men who graduated, successful black men who graduated from Morehouse, and you invite this doddering old dude to come in and give the commencement speech. Really? This is ridiculous. And the students, the graduates were right to turn their backs on them and not to this nonsense. Because what are you doing here? I don't know who is in charge. These colleges don't make sense. They simply don't make sense. An honorary degree in what? How not to say vaguely racist things? how not to say vaguely racist, listen to me, vaguely racial things. What do you say? Poor colleges are just poor kids are just as good as anyone else. Funny stuff. I don't know who thinks of this. Obviously, you should get somebody of the same of the the same who graduated from there and who are doing well. Why would you get somebody who has absolutely nothing to do with that college? Why would you do that? I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, Carol Baker. They everyone denounced the college denounced it. It was funny. Like, yeah, we don't. They keep inviting him to go to these colleges and give the commencement speech because he gave the same speech last year at some other college. It didn't get any notoriety. He keeps giving that speech everywhere. He is a devout Catholic. I call him a passionate Catholic, but and he has a right to his views or whatever. I just don't understand why he has to speak at colleges. I don't know what it is about him that allows him to speak in colleges or he kicks a football. And you're right. He should just shut up and kick. I don't know why they keep inviting him to give these commencement speeches. I don't understand that. Again, we gotta every time you try to dissenter men, right? They just keep insinuating themselves into women's spaces. They just never leave women's spaces. Because I mean, God's sakes, just go away. It's a woman's college. And every time women try to get away from men, men follow them into their spaces constantly. It's really, really crazy. It's too too funny. Oh boy. Joyful. What's happening? I guess. Men need women and women are the creative. That's true. That is true. I mean, most of what we're enjoying here is the benefit of women, the science, the GPS system, the the voice over protocol, all of that is done by women. We are the creatives. But, they built this world and they should, they should learn how to live and stop following us around. To hear them say it, they risk their lives to build this world so that we can enjoy the comfort. And I wish they would just go on and live in the world and stop bothering women. Live in the world that you built. Leave us alone. Stop bothering us. They was quick to tell you how they built this world. You enjoy the comforts that we made for you. Really? No, that's an old saying behind every what is it? What that's an old or every something man was a great wife or something like that. Yeah, yeah, men do need women, but women don't really need men. I guess you can make the argument, for their lineage and legacy. But Akon said that all you have to do is put your sperm in a test tube, shake it up, and voila. So according to men, they make life. You know, we don't make life; they make life. Again, they built this world, and they can make life. Voila, according to them, they don't need us for nothing. So let it go in their little world that they built. Get their get their sperm, put it in the little test tube, shake it up, do the hokey pokey, and voila, have life, and learn to navigate in the world that they built. And eventually they'll figure out how to feed themselves, clean their houses, do laundry. They'll figure it all out. I really I have no real sympathy for men when it comes to women because they make a conscious effort on how they want to treat women. They know exactly what they're doing. And so when they mistreat women, they don't necessarily do it because they don't have intention or they're dumb. They have every intention on treating people you know, the way they do. So I have very little sympathy for their needs outside of my family. You know, the rest of them, I have very little sympathy for. I mean, I don't care if they have wives or don't. I don't think in this day and time that most people are strong enough to even be married. To be married takes a lot of it takes an emotional toll on both the men and the women. And I personally don't think that men and women are strong enough to be married. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Personally, as a married person, I wouldn't. I look around, a lot of people aren't even emotionally mature to be married or have children. I don't believe every woman should be a mother. That is not a calling. Not for a lot of women out here. Neither is marriage. Nope. I would not suggest it. I would not. I would not recommend it. I would let the men have to learn to do things for themselves. Let them learn to do things for themselves. Let them eat cake. And I think sometimes the biggest mistake, especially as a black woman, and I'm glad my husband was there for this part. We try to overcompensate for the things that father doesn't give the child instead of helping him to be more independent in the world. And I think sometimes to a degree that a lot of men here had moms that did stuff for them. They never had to do things for themselves. And so they're stunted and they don't know how to navigate in the world because they have to take care of themselves. And now what do I do? Because mommy isn't here to do it. Mommy used to cook meals. Mommy used to do the laundry. Mommy used to do this. And now nobody's there to do it. They have to do it for themselves. Nobody really wants to, wash your socks and your underwear, you know? Yeah. Women are trained to forgive. That's part of the patriarchy. All this all of this love and romance is for us to get on with it, to take it, to soothe us. All this romance is to make us prime so we'll stay in a relationship. Somebody said, and I forgot who, maybe it was Princella, I don't remember. I think it was her. Women are a resource. That's how they treat us, like resources. And I just don't want to play resource anymore. Especially if I have to go out and take care of myself, which I'd rather do anyways. Why would I allow you to make a resource of me? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. You know? I wouldn't recommend marriage or even really serious relationships in this day and time, especially under these financial circumstances. Well, I don't know. Maybe it could help in these financial circumstances to have a roommate, but I don't know. I guess that's why you got to decenter them because we've been played for so long, and and there's still people who still believe, still women who believe in the patriarchy fervently, like they fervently believe in patriarchy, they fervently believe in the Bible, they fervently believe in uh, you know, what they call pygmy behavior. So, you know, after all those years, all those women, my own grandmother, my own great grandmother, and great aunts, and the crap they had to put up with, like, no, no, I wouldn't recommend that at all. Let the, let the men go out and learn how to compete. I did well, I'm going to do. I have to go back and do it over. A paper, I read a paper where the government was interfering in keeping women down, the U.S. government, because they never wanted the men to compete for jobs. They never wanted the men, the men were spoiled. Everything was given to them. If the woman was educated and the man was educated, then the job was given to the man over the woman, even though she might have been more qualified. And so, like, women had to endure a lot, even though, men took the money. If you were to depend on a man, he would take the money and go to the pub and spend it up, knowing that he had kids at home and rent to pay. But what did he do? He drank it up. And now women had to go to the jobs and fight him for the food for the kids. So no, I don't feel bad for men. Men have to learn how to stand on their own 2 feet and make it for themselves. You know, if they want to be great men, then they have to find and fulfill their own destiny. It's not up to a woman to drive them into success. Let them drive themselves into it, because everything's been given. They have things they haven't even earned. They haven't earned it. And when you read about, the history of the United States and how the government interfered in World War II and drove the women out of the workforce, how, in the 1900s, they colluded to drive the women out of the workforce. Every time women tried to, be independent, they, the government came in and, coddled them in. So I'm with Cardi B. I don't cook, I don't clean. They can. They just don't want to. They just don't want to compete. They don't really want to. It used to be, and I used to read these books years ago, that men would go out into the world and find their own destiny. Nobody really tells them that. I mean, Andrew Tate came like this close to kind of telling them that. But I mean, you can compete. You can compete. What the manosphere has done and what the red pill has done is they have robbed these men of their ability to compete, because they told them education is not important. Don't go to school. Don't go to college. Don't develop yourself. They make fun of black women because black women were getting their education. They make fun of women for getting their education, going to college. The world is changing, and the manosphere and the red pill got these men stuck on stupid. They can compete. There are places where men can compete, but it takes some discipline. And yeah, they'll have to go to school. They'll have to get an education. They'll have to get a vocation. The world isn't entirely against them. You have to develop your brain, but you can compete. It is possible. So the again, that's why I said I can't, especially when they sit here and they tell the men, the red manosphere red pill, that the reason why they can't compete is women. No, it isn't. The reason why you can't compete is because no one is telling you the way. Men have to tell you the way. Men have to show you. Manhood has nothing to do with us. It has to do with you, with the man. But the men don't tell them that. They just tell them that women are at fault. Feminism is tearing down the family. And, you can't compete in the world. Put your hands up and just give up. Don't go to school. Don't do anything. Just sit around in your place and play video games. And then on the other hand, they call them fat fucks because they're sitting around in their houses playing video games. I mean, in a way, I'm angry. I'm very angry of how angry about how our young men have been robbed by the manosphere red pill. So they can compete. There are places where they can compete. Somebody opened a school. I can't remember who it was. And it was a school for STEM exclusively for males. And he advertised it. He put it on TikTok. I don't know if he put it on YouTube, but I know he put it on TikTok and I know he put it on Instagram. Nobody ever applied for that school. It was free, just so he could train them to get into the STEM program. Nobody wanted to go there. There are opportunities. The problem is nobody wants to fill them. And if you're saying that they can't compete, then how are women out here doing it? And I know somebody's going to say, well, you can't compare men to women. Well, we all live in the same world. He couldn't get anybody to go in the STEM program, go to the STEM school. He couldn't get one student. And he was perplexed because I have a free school. I can help you with a good job. But it does. But who disciplines them? You know what I mean? Who should be the ones to do that? And unfortunately, men, and we don't have any other men in the community. These people online squandered their opportunity to actually direct men and to influence them into being disciplined and going to school. They're being influenced to be, what are they? To be hostile toward women. You mean to tell me they couldn't be influenced to go to school, discipline, pull themselves up? They tell them to get their money up and go to the gym. They influence them to do those two things. You mean to tell me they couldn't influence them to do other things? Men live to men, and unfortunately, the people on this platform squandered their opportunity to really develop men and make them and give them manhood instead of this false masculinity. Yeah, but men had these jobs first. I mean, women are naturally cooperative. So are men when they want money. So are men when they want something. We just talked about how men are intentional. When they want something, they know how to get it. They know how to. That you think every man is going to work popping off? You think men are going to jobs and fighting all the time? They know how to behave. They know how to behave when they're making money. Men are not entirely animals, like somebody's telling us. That's not entirely true. They know exactly what to do and they know when to do it. Unfortunately, these people on these platforms squandered their opportunity. And now the DHS and the FBI are looking into them and looking into their content because they fed all this negativity instead of feeding things that could have made the young men better, really made them better. Yeah, but they do. They still go for jobs. Again, and I'm talking about the men. Yes, things were given to them. Yes. But these later generations didn't get what the older generations do get. They still fill out their applications. They still go to the job interview and they still learn how to compete. Unfortunately, the wrong things were fed to them. That's how I see it. The wrong stuff was fed to them. I keep going back to the content creators. I keep going back to because when you see Sneeko, I don't know if you know who Sneeko is. He used to be here on the platform on YouTube. And he had these little boys saying, and he was kind of shocked because he used to stream every day, all day. And what did he stream? Negative stuff toward women. Fuck these women, fuck these hoes, all that kind of stuff. So he was at this place. I'm sure you might have seen it if somebody was talking about it. And they were it was 10, 11, 12-year olds. And they see Sneeko and they gather around him and they yell, "Fuck these hoes, fuck these." And he's like, "No, no, no." Because and it's too late now because they've already poisoned the well to a degree. Now they have to fight to uh to to turn that around. He's already poisoned the well because he's hanging out with Red Pill, Fresh and Fit, and all these other people, and they're talking about they're disrespecting women. Men pay attention to other men, and that's what I've been saying, or at least I was trying to say that it's really the men's responsibility to stand up and build a community for their children, but they instead they put all this negative junk out there, and now now they want to whine they can't compete. Now they want to whine that it's the women's fault. Now they give a frick about family values when they never care about family values at all. Now it's all this, non all this false masculinity crap when you could have built a community of decent men. Think about all those hundreds of millions of hours streaming day in and day out, 2, 3 times a day. And this is what you come up with. And I've gone out in the street and listened to some of these kids, and it's a shame. It's a shame because I don't know if they're lost. I can't say that they're lost, but Jesus, you know, they're fresh and fit talking points. Kevin Samuels talking points. You're 12 years old. You call them sneakers. Maybe he did, but then that proves my point. Then, right? That the red pill poisons. What is it that the Bible say? Bad company corrupts good manners. Bad company corrupts good manners. So now he's all over the place. Who knows what he is these days? Oh yeah, but again, money over morals. And the problem is they still think they're in the right. They still think they're being persecuted. They still think that they're the good guys. Even though Fresh and Fit have been demonetized, pearly things have been demonetized. Um, who else? Nico is on Rumble. The world is, people are beginning to realize if you're feeding the wrong animal and you're doing it for money. So it's no longer lucrative to be this person, but they're still trying. They're still trying. It's in my purview, and I nobody in the big world of things. But from what I have seen, in some cases, the damage has been done. The damage has been done. We just about to wait and see what happens once the real financial situation hits. Then we're going to see what's we're going to see something. But I was working on releasing a video about the unintentional uh, consequences of the 4B movement and how in Korea those women are being assaulted. They consider it a good thing when they can break up from a guy and he isn't stalking them, assaulting them, or terrifying them, when they can have an uneventful breakup, and how terrifying it is over there to be a South Korean woman and date a guy and know that he's going to go absolutely crazy if you break up. And nobody's talking about that. Like the rise in crime against women, and especially those in the 4B movement, and how their government really is blaming feminism for their low birth rate. Nobody's talking about that either. Similar issues. Women, more women are going to college than men, attending college and graduating, and so on and so forth. And there's a rise in that. They've seen that all over the world. So yeah, like here in the United States, they're quietly trying to put a stop to it and at least mitigate it some. But it's been feeding the world for quite some time. I don't know. I don't know if the damage is permanent. I don't know. We'll see. But the Department of Homeland Security they've been paying money for reports for quite a while. And the FBI composed that report last year. Those are both on my page here. And that was the same time when that dude came out of his butt talking about the best way to purify uh, the black race, I guess, was to do away with black women altogether and start fresh. And I don't think you can take away thoughts and ideas and feelings. Misogyny is inherent in men anyways. Mesopotamia, that was a misogynist society. And that was before Christianity and before religion, and it's the oldest civilization ever recorded. And they treated women just like they treat women today, way back then. So feeding that, feeding that over the years, over time, I don't know. They get permanent in. I don't think it is. I don't think. I don't think people have the stamina to be 4B. I don't think so. I don't think 4B is catching on at all. I don't think so. I know everybody wants to, and there are people who are adopting it, but I find it funny that when I go to the different platforms, most of the people don't even dissenter men. They sit there and talk about men all day long. So if you sitting here talking about men all day long, and you can't decenter men, and, you can't talk about anything but men, then how you are gonna adopt the 4B movement? Because the 4B movement, that is deep. That's not just a movement, that's a lifestyle. Those women don't buy makeup, they don't do their hair, they don't dress for the pleasure of men. They support only women-owned places. Please, what sisterhood are we talking about? They they try to live together. If they attend college, it's only women's colleges. I mean, they are committed to the 4B movement. And I just don't think that women here in the West, I think we're a little too spoiled to really give a true commitment to the 4B movement. I don't think that is spreading like wildfire, like they wanted to, but I don't think it is. And I think it's just a flash in the pan. I don't even think it's like nobody's discussing it anymore. It was something and then it wasn't. But we'll see. I mean, what do I know? It just doesn't look like it's doing much. And then Koreans are most of the funny thing about the 4B movement is a lot of Koreans don't even know what it is. Like, it's such a fringe movement over there that they don't even know what it is. Okay? It's something that somebody caught on here in the West. Most Korean women don't even know what that is. And those type women are getting more assaulted because they're against the grain. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I just don't see Western women making that sort of commitment. And on top of that, the Korean women don't want any Western women messing with their shit. And they kind of said so. They don't want that. They want That's their movement. That's their stuff. Leave them alone, shut up, and let them do what they have to do. And we do what we have to do. They don't want a 4B West. They don't like the idea of it. So they're like extreme feminists. And I'll say this again. Western women don't want to be feminist in that fashion. They don't. I don't think you can't even get women to say that they're feminist, but they're going to say that they're 4B. Because to be 4B, you have to be an extreme feminist. That's how I see it. I don't think it's going to catch on because most women don't want to be feminists. Not now. It is. It is. Yeah, you're still out. We'll see. I mean, I could be wrong, but you know, yeah. But they didn't want babies before there was 4B, and I'm all for that. I think because considering what's happening in the world, I don't. I think people are totally not paying attention to BRICS. They don't want Americans to look at BRICS. BRICS is doing some making some big moves, and America doesn't want to acknowledge those moves. But given those financial situations, don't think uh I don't think they should have babies. I've been talking about that for years. Before I even decided to come on YouTube, I couldn't understand why my friends were having these babies with these dudes who didn't want to have babies with them. And you can not have babies and not be 4B. Like those aren't mutually exclusive. So yeah, if they want to claim it, that's great. But I just for me, what I learned about it and my friends were telling me that's a commitment. And I'm not sure if Western women are going to go that far with it. Women are tired. Yeah, they're tired. I was tired. When you're doing work, you're taking care of the husband, the house, you're paying the bills, you're figuring out everything. I mean, you become emotionally drained. That's why you have to decenter that whole marriage romance thing. You just have to decenter that. You have to go other places with that and have something of your own and set boundaries in that relationship. No, I'm not doing that. No, we're not going here. If you want to go, you can go. I'm not going because it's too much. It's too much. And I think on the down low, and I said this before, but I think that the nations are beginning to realize that they let the cat out of the bag and they're not trying to get back in, but they are trying to maneuver it so that women will try to go back in on their own. That's what I think. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's good that women are not having babies. I'm all for it. Yeah. No, none of these babies. Especially with the government trying to starve y'all out. No, 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 no. Now is not the time to have babies. Now is not the time. I agree. I did it. I'm so glad my kids are grown. I don't know what to do. You don't know how glad I am those kids are grown. I I hum that Cardi B line. I don't cook and I don't clean, and still I got the ring. Girl, I don't do none of that. And see, when the kids were little, I used to do all that, and that's why I got to the point where I didn't even remember who I was anymore. Ah, no, no, I wouldn't recommend that for any. No, mm-mm. If you want to work 40 hours a week, anyways, why can't you just enjoy your life? And I'm not saying that kids aren't a blessing, but they're a blessing under the right circumstances, definitely. No, 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 I don't recommend that. Uh-uh. And always the sacrifice is on the woman. Always. There is no reality or very few realities where the sacrifice isn't on the woman. Very few. Very few realities. And yeah, I don't blame her for being tired. Yeah, bump that. Cleaning the house every day, cooking every day. No, no, no. Eat out. Eat order out. Uber Eats. Yeah. Have fun, enjoy your life. I'm glad I had fun when I was younger, though. I didn't have any babies until I was in my 30s, you know, and I was kind of mature enough to handle it. I would have been a terrible mother in my 20s, and I would have been terrible mother in my teens. So when I became a mother, I was very mature, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Like, no, 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 no. And then you're responsible for everybody. You're ca- you are the pillar, and everybody piles all their stuff on you. The kids you can't help. You have to love your kids. But the husband, that's that's you know, that's a lot. And I'm glad to see that women are fighting to free themselves from that drudgery because it is drudgery. And you look around, I don't believe that every woman should be a mother, to be honest. I really don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that's a woman's job to be. Every woman shouldn't be a mother. In fact, a lot of women shouldn't be mothers. When you look around where you live, where I live, but I live in a fairly decent area, but not judging, but judging. Not everybody should be a mother. And stay away from kids. You know. Ooh, well, I guess I have talked your ears off, victorious one. It is backwards. It is very backwards. It's one of those alternate reality worlds. You know, pillar and post. You are it. When something goes wrong, they don't ask where the father is or where your parents. They ask, "Where's your mother?" You know, you ask the father, "What doctor does the children go to?" He doesn't know. Where do they go again? What school thing? It's a lot. It's a lot to be a parent. I wouldn't recommend it unless you were ready. At least 35. Oh, thank you, Victorious One. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming to my live. I honestly didn't expect to be talking to anybody, and I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'm encouraged to come out and do more lives. I don't know why. Is this a delay? This keeps sitting here. So weird. Well, I am going to call it a night or an early morning. What time? Oh, it's 1:48. It's early, but I am going to call it a night. I appreciate you stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you again. It's so encouraging to talk to somebody. Sometimes I do these lives and nobody comes, but that's good because I get to practice and talk. But it's lovely to have a conversation. It really is. And thank you for subscribing. I do appreciate that too. And liking the video. I see that you have liked the video. I appreciate that. And the next time we do a live, I hope you stop back by so we can talk again. Thank you. You as well. Good morning and have a great day. And to anyone else who is out there, you also have a great day. Good morning.